The historical figure Siddhartha Gautama, or maybe Gautama Siddhartha, became known as the Buddha because Buddha, as far as I know it, translates as the awakened one, or the chap who woke up. The idea is that through some sort of contemplative experience, some sort of practice, he achieved a state of consciousness which was as different to normal consciousness as normal consciousness is to sleep. And the only way he could describe that, or his followers could describe that, or fellow travellers on the road could describe that difference, or the experience, is by using the sleep-wake distinction as a metaphor for the normal waking consciousness, enlightened consciousness distinction. From the little that I know about Buddhism, one of the, and it's not much I have to say, one of the ideas, I think, is that when you do become enlightened, when you do wake up, you don't suddenly inhabit this completely different world. You don't, everything doesn't suddenly become sort of glowing and different. Nothing changes, in fact. That's what most the proponents that I've spoken to say. Nothing actually changes in the physical world. There's no, you don't suddenly experience a revelation of a new truth, or you don't see God, or any of those sort of revelatory experiences. You simply become aware of the world exactly as it is. You see it in all its particularity, as if for the first time, I guess, as if you have sort of woken up. When you're asleep, the world, of course, is there. You're simply not aware of it. And when you come out of sleep and go into normal wakefulness, the world stays the same. Nothing changes in the world. It's simply your relationship to it has changed, your apprehension of it. And as I understand it, within Buddhism, there's a similar sort of relationship. The world stays the same. It's your relationship that's different. The only point of similarity that I've got in my own experience, and this is years ago, when I guess like many people of my generation since, we experimented with hallucinogenic drugs, like acid, for example. And it's almost stereotypical of the LSD experience that when you're under the influence of that particular drug, nothing really changes. I mean, it is a sort of stereotype that hallucinations take place, which I guess do. Yes, those things do change. But typically things don't change that much, at least at the outset. What does happen, though, is there's a sort of hyper-real awareness of what's happening. So it does feel as if you're looking at the world for the first time. So people who've been through the experiences will typically say things which sound very banal, like, yeah, the grass was really green. I was looking at this tree and there was like a tree there. And it sort of comes across as sort of spacer insanity. But I think what they're striving for there with those statements, those claims, is kind of a defamiliarization with the world, to the extent that you look at it anew and it appears, it just appears real again, really. All the incrustations of habit and familiarization are somehow wiped away. So I'm guessing that there's some relationship between that experience and the awakening that takes place in spiritual and contemplative practices, supposedly, and is supposedly what happened to the historical Buddha. If that wasn't sufficient, though, I mean, this idea of awakening to an absolute unity of being and enlightenment, that idea is sort of unnecessary, I think, in many ways. Because one of the experiences that I have, which I guess we all have, every single day, is that at a certain time in the morning, around about 6 o'clock right now for me, I wake up either an alarm goes off or I can hear the milkman at the door, something like that. And I seem to move from this state in which I'm just not there. My body's there, the world is there, metabolic processes are happening, cognitive processes are happening, but somehow I'm just not there. And then over a period of just a few seconds, I sort of appear, and I appear at the same time as the world appears. Sort of mutually arise in this consciousness that sort of surfaces. Actually, it's not really the consciousness that surfaces. I think it feels more like a realization that oneself is present, surfaces into this space of consciousness. That's kind of how it feels. And it's so strange, isn't it, that, when you think about it? I find it so strange. But every single morning, there's a huge change takes place in which, you know, I move out of the darkness and into the light. At least that's how it appears. And join the rest of the traffic on the motorway. And, you know, once I am up to speed on the motorway, once these first few minutes have passed, and ideally once I've had my first cup of coffee, I look around, I'm looking around now, and it's completely normal again. I almost forget that huge transition that's taking place. It's taken me from sleep to wakefulness and from darkness to light. A tiny enlightenment every morning.